We have to believe it's going to be all right. And if it isn't, no, then nothing matters.
The first thing I want to talk to you about, Matt, is we get to explore some of the NPCs' backstories in a way that we weren't able to in the original campaign. What was your favorite part of getting to dig into some of these characters in a way we hadn't seen before?
I mean, my favorite part was being able to actually express these stories finally. You know, a lot of these bits I got to talk about in post-campaign wrap-up aspects or allude to at panels and stuff, but never get to really fully experience and flesh out. And now that we get to go back and adapt these stories for this medium, we get to take the time to see not just other perspectives of the world and the story, but now alongside Vox Machina, we can go back and divide the group in places where it allows space for some of these secondary characters to step in to the light and, learn more about them and live with them and travel with them. And it's one of my favorite facets of the fact that we've gotten to be able to adapt this. We get to take all the best parts of it and we get to tweak and add and change and make it the best version we can for animation. And I'm loving it.
It was so much fun. Sam, I love Scanlan's arc this season. Can you talk to me a little bit about how learning he has a daughter has impacted his motivation, not only as a person, but as an adventurer?
I think it's changed everything about his outlook. The first season, he is just searching for a good time. Second season, he realizes he needs more than that. And now the third season, he realizes why. I think, he realizes that none of his relationships have actually been relationships, and he just is now, also through knowing his friends, Vox Machina, he's seen what a real relationship can be and real family can be. And so he wants to see if he can have one of those for himself. It's a real personal journey for him, and it definitely affects him by the end of the season. And he makes a bunch of mistakes along the way, but he's trying to do it for all the right reasons.
Definitely. And then Taliesin, I love that in this season we see Percy striving for hope and happiness instead of revenge. Can you talk to me a little bit about this change in direction for Percy and how he maybe has to fight against that instinct of looking for revenge with aspects of his past still kind of around and not put to bed?
Well, he was a character who was so specifically motivated by all of this anger that, like, when it finally, I'll say it didn't vanish, but it dissipated for a while. He then got to look around and see the mess that he had made of everything. And then spent a season continuing to make that mess, trying to figure out his footing. And then now, actually it was nice to actually get a hold on it and start rebuilding. And then, since we are talking about how things move, having the opportunity to really get a dark reflection of where that path could have gone, and at the very least try and create grace that may have saved him, and trying to talk to himself in that way, regardless of the outcome.
And then Laura, I love Vex's journey, especially kind of as she has to face all of these like family dynamics and feelings that she maybe doesn't want to deal with. What for you is the most interesting part of Vex's like interpersonal relationships within Vox Machina, while having to deal with not only her past with like her father, but the fact that her brother has chosen to realistically sacrifice himself for her?
Just a lot of grief, right? What's really beautiful is Vex's, walls and just this need for her to make people believe that she has everything together and she doesn't really need them. And for Percy to be the one to help her shed that layer, in more ways than one, baby, to help her realize it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to show that part of yourself. And then realizing that too late and what that means and that regret and finding that within herself of going, I can't I can't keep shutting people out because things are finite and they need to know what they mean. So yeah, it's a beautiful journey to go on this season.
And then can you tease if we're going to kind of get into the origins of Vex's connection to the dragons and her ability to sense when they're around?
Do we ever go into that?
We just sort of say why, I think. Is that this season? I can't remember. Maybe it's this season where you say I've studied dragons. That's why I can sense them.
But I mean, I said that in the first dragon fight.
Maybe that was earlier. Yeah.
She just has this amazing ability.
Yeah. It's one of those fantasy hand wave, there's reasons, but you get it.
No. She studied them. She knows.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's on my character sheet.
Yeah.
If you have answers to that, watch the full campaign.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a transition.
I love that we get to visit so many more locations in Exandria this season. Did you each kind of have a favorite spot to explore that we haven't seen before?
I really liked going to Ank'Harel, Marquette. We were only there briefly, but we really got a peek into this other continent, and we wrote a language for the area. All the words that the guards are speaking are we hired a linguist to write the language of Marquesian. So it's its own translatable language, which is pretty cool. That was mine.
I mean, I wasn't there personally, but I love the Hells.
Yeah, going to hell.
Yeah.
It was so fun to work out the designs of that, the design language, the creatures, the architecture, the mood. That's the whole hell sequence is basically all my sketchbooks growing up. So I was so excited to be a part of all that.
And then Matt, is there a character that you haven't fully been able to delve into yet that you really want to in the future, or even in some other medium?
From Exandria or just in general?
Yeah.
In Exandria, oh man, I mean, we've only touched on him so much in this campaign, but our Taggin is such a delightfully complicated, strange little mischievous bastard. Hopefully, if we have future seasons, maybe we'll have a chance to see more of him. And other things in development might also have the opportunity to. So yeah, he's always a fun character to return to.
I love him. He's one of my favorites, especially how he plays into campaign 2 is so much fun. There are so many great Easter eggs this season. Do you guys have a favorite? Because I know I'll immediately which to grab my attention.
My absolute favorite is Matt's Ruby of the Sea song.
Yep.
It's
love it. Gets stuck in my head every time I hear it. It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, even just singing it, recording it the first time, it was in my head for 2 weeks afterward.
Yeah.
And then still every now and then it'll creep in there first thing in the morning.
Our special cameo in hell is pretty great.
Yeah. I think seeing a brief flash of Keyleth as a goldfish was my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
That was pretty slick.
Those genuinely were the two where I, as soon as I saw them, had to pause the episodes and was just grinning and jumping around because it was what for each of you has kind of been maybe the most surprising element of returning to the stories of Vox Machina after so much time away from them? Have there been pieces where you maybe have a new understanding of the character or their arc?
I mean, more understanding of the world than what we had when we were playing. As we progress through even campaign 3, things are being revealed about the world that affect campaign 1 and the way we viewed it. So it's really cool to get to incorporate some of that into the animated series in ways that we wouldn't have been able to if we hadn't expanded the world like we did.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to me today. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. The show is amazing. I can't wait for everyone to see it.
Thank you so much.
Caitlin. Always a pleasure.
Oi! You think you can catch us, Dingle Dick? Maybe don't mock the murder man?